Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 400, no, 500 of Geeks in Space. I'm Rob Commander Taco Maldo, and I am joined today in pretend low Earth orbit by two of the finest geeks you're ever going to meet. I got a Chris DeBona.
Hey, everybody.
And a Rob Roseboom.
Hey there.
Everybody cool. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's happy. We survived Final Countdown.
The final countdown. Sorry, I literally can't hear that without having to sing the song. You know, I can't.
Oh no.
I deleted my Final Countdown macro, so you got that one instead.
Oh man. So do you have like a massive stream deck? Because I've got the regular size stream deck, and did you map it the sounds and stuff?
I have a smaller Scream deck, but I have it
Scream deck.
Yeah, Scream deck. I have all of my camera angles and all of the Geeks in Space scenes mapped to it, along with play and pause and stuff. But it's pretty dope. I won't lie.
It's super dope.
It's super dope. All right, folks. Well, I got some good news. If either of you have any interest in some long distance travel,
you know what? I love good news. I am all about good news.
Well, the first one on the list right now, Chris, is that there's a scientist who says that it's possible for humans to travel through wormholes.
Well, let's give it a shot. What are you guys doing this afternoon?
I think that I would want to read the paper, because this sounds like one of those negative gravity papers where they're like, if we have a stable wormhole, then, and it's like, well, hold on, let's talk about your if statement there at the beginning, because
it's even worse than that.
So, is it really worse than that?
No, if I read I only read the intro, and the part that's awesome is that while we think that this is possible, the amount of time it would take for the human to do it would be no different than the amount of time that it would take for them to travel normally, because of space-time warping.
So here's the thing, right? When we talk about entangled particles, right? One of the things that I've never been super clear on is does that violate relativity? And so of course I assume it doesn't, right? So there's no such thing as simultaneity of information transfer via entangled particles, including across the Schwarzschild limit of black holes, right? And this is the nature of Hawking radiation, right? So here's the thing, right? So if you have a wormhole and it connects two parts of three-dimensional space across however mechanism, it should take just as long to go from point A to point B as it would if you were able to go the speed of light, right? So there's no magic, right, where you can traverse and extend past the speed of light, because that would cause the end of all creation. So
right.
And so is the paper saying we have proved that there is no such thing as simultaneous or in excess of the speed of light?
It's much less.
Because if so, that's an interesting result.
It's much less interesting than that. But mostly, I think what it comes down to is neither of us, or none of us, are going to be able to get to a wormhole within our lifetime anyway. So it feels moot.
Well, certainly not with that attitude, Rob Maldo.
Yeah, right.
All right. That's fair. All right, so this story's been going now for like 10 years. The cities are suing Netflix. Oh, you want to go back? Tell us more about quantum physics, Chris.
I want to give credit to the authors of this paper. We point out there can be only human traversable wormhole solutions, blah, 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 blah. Namely the Randall-Sunder model. What's fascinating about this is they didn't go full like narcissist and name their paper the Malka-Tsena-Millikan model of wormhole traversal for human scale multi-molecule objects in non-relativistically violating time. Like if they had gone all the way, then we would have known they were cranks, right? So I don't know.
Well, that's the trick for all good hoaxes, right? It's to know where to draw the line.
Right.
You know, it's before it's Looney Tunes. Like, and what we've learned in the last, couple of years is that line doesn't really exist. And Exhibit A would be QAnon, because QAnon has got a lot of loony in there, and yet somehow.
and also a president. Who knew? Okay, you wanted to talk about the next story though.
Oh, the Netflix thing. This has been going on for a while.
Has it though? This is the first time I've heard that cities are going after them for franchise fees.
Well,
That's
okay,
really
so this
something.
started. I mean, this started a decade ago. When was it Chicago? There was cities early on in this thing, and they were specifically going after video streaming. This is, I mean, just the next step, I suppose, in whatever that is. It's a weird one because, like, okay, if you're gonna broadcast over public airwaves, over public frequency, then I guess the argument is that you're taking something away from somebody else in a globally shared resource. Whereas internet tubes, most of the world anyway, are privately owned. So you're not taking away from public airwaves. Now, whether or not you should be paid to, and I think that's kind of the gist of the story, is that, like, how like maybe the law doesn't logically work with how they're doing it, although the spirit of what they're trying to achieve might be reasonable, depending on how you feel about these sorts of things. I mean, we saw versions of this back in the day, like I guess it seems reasonable that you should be allowed to be taxed by terabyte, right? Like, I mean, if the local jurisdiction says they want to tax me because I downloaded a terabyte of data last month, I mean, I guess that...
I don't know, man. I think I would go the other direction and say, just make it a sales tax, where it's like, if you're paying $15.99 for a Netflix subscription, the city can just pull that whole, we have a special, internet a la carte sales tax, kind of like how they charge extra to hotels and
a usage fee.
It's. I think that I don't like the idea of billing by the terabyte because.
I don't like any of these ideas.
But I mean, if I were a city, I wouldn't go after a franchise fee. I think the franchise. So the nice thing about the franchise fee is it's a federal thing, right? So they're trying to kick off a federal, ruling that these people are actually cable stations. But I think if I were doing it, I would just do a sales tax, because cities have shown they can do specialized sales taxes with a simple majority vote or even just a city council vote, right?
Sure.
Depending on the area. So it's like, I don't know why they're going to this much trouble. So,
well, I guess, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's not ideal either way. It seems like the way this law, where they're going about it, like it's one of those things where when all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. It seems like they happen to have this one particular hammer, and it seems like that's what they're going for. I mean,
well, what's really funny about this is if you parallel this with the idea that cities can no longer do municipal broadband, right, which the cable companies fought against for so long and successfully in a lot of jurisdictions, it's like in those areas, I think it's extra special that they would go after, these, people who are killing the very same people who hobbled them and kept them from being able to implement municipal broadband. There's so many good corners of this lawsuit that's so exciting.
I know. Well, that's this whole story. And like I said, versions of this have been going on for a long time. And I mean, it's just, we're moving to a new medium. Who gets the monies? Cities still need their monies. I mean,
gotta get their money.
It's a whole thing, right? Good. I mean, like, schools are funded by property taxes. So we agreed that you can tax that stuff, but not other stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff.
Well, there's another angle to this too, where so when things change out from under cities and they stop getting fees and tax income from them, like when electric cars started really appearing out here, and so the gas tax reduced. It's like, that's how you pay for the roads, and electric cars use roads too. So it's.
I mean, it's no different than any platform, really. I mean, newspapers died because Craigslist and Google drank their milkshake, and that's.
Well, we didn't though, right? It was just they had relied on classified ad revenue so heavily, and Craigslist just did a number on that, and then it was like, okay, how can we continue to make other revenue? Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I'm not going to comment on any Google related.
I understand.
News
we can
things,
talk
'cause
about Facebook.
I don't want to be in court.
We can talk about Facebook.
Oh yeah. So did you see the thing where Facebook was requiring a login for Oculus?
Yeah.
So I don't own an Oculus Quest. I don't own an
now
Oculus
it seems
device.
increasingly unlikely that you will.
Well, I'm not really a Facebook user, as you know. But is this a big deal? I mean, doesn't everybody already have a Facebook login? And isn't one of the big problems with VR is it's so like Lonely Town that they're trying to make it all social and stuff? I guess I'm trying to figure out, how offensive is this really? I mean, people are already on Facebook sharing photos and jokes with their racist Uncle Ron. I mean, how is this like a bridge too far, you know?
I mean, it's a bridge too far in so much as Oculus was once upon a time not a Facebook company, and people bought into the platform, and they're like, back when it was a Kickstarter, back when it was not a Facebook company, and now they're going to be required to use a Facebook thing in order to continue to be a part of their platform. It would be if Apple bought Facebook and then required all Facebook users to migrate to Apple IDs. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, that's a bad example because, all of the 4 or 5 oligarch corporations in America, are going to try to get you to log on to their ecosystem.
Right, but I mean, companies buy other companies, right?
For sure.
I mean, that's what happens. Crappy, sure, but I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
That one's a weird one too. I guess in all fairness, don't you have to basically log into Steam in order to use a Valve Index? I mean,
yeah. I mean, you have to
log in.
And come on, how many games do you have to do at a secondary login nowadays? It's like, honestly, the game we're working on, you have to, activate connected to your Google account. I mean, it can be any Google account. We don't really care. But yeah, it's like, actually, I guess that's not true anymore. I guess you can just use your Steam ID, but you have to be. It's an online game, so
sure.
You are connected to your Steam ID. Yeah, it's like, I was thinking about this in the context of like, I downloaded Microsoft Flight Simulator Deluxe Super Premium Gold Plated Edition, and it wasn't downloading for 6 hours. But I had to log into my Microsoft/Xbox account. I don't own an Xbox, but it's like, I guess I just don't see how this is a big deal. I think people are just looking for something to be upset about.
I think that Facebook, I think, is a particular use case because I think Facebook receives a disproportionate percentage of the blame for the terribleness in the universe. I mean, maybe it's well-founded, maybe it's not, but it definitely gets more blame than the other mega corporate internet oligarchs because they have a history, I guess.
They get their fair share of ire for sure,
Yeah, well, so that old thing where you don't go from love to apathy, you go from love to hate. Right. It's not you never just go from Facebook is the most annoying, important, dramatic, exciting website in the whole wide world to, I don't care about Facebook. You go from there to, I hate Facebook. They're ruining democracy and the world and killing us all. And it's like, I think that might be a little extreme reaction. But one of the things I don't know if I talked about this. So you remember how Facebook acquired Mixer from Microsoft?
Surprise.
So did I tell you my theory about this? This is a little conspiracy theory.
You've said this here on this very show.
On the show, the deprecation as a service, basically they're monetizing their bad reputation. Okay, good. Then go back to the previous episode and go ahead and listen to that rant.
I think the previous episode is not linked in one of these corners.
Yeah. Look down in the doobly-doo. No, it's
which I definitely did not update. I think that Facebook, though, in particular, like, okay, if you read Hacker News long enough, you will see a fairly regular series of posts that usually get pretty good ratings on the site of "I'm quitting Google." And they list.
Oh no, that's what Medium is for.
Hold on, that's not my point. Like, you see that fairly frequently. on Hacker News. However, if you go outside of Hacker News to like the next ring out of people who are not technical enough to read Hacker News, and I'm not saying my mom, but I'm saying something in between Hacker News and my mom, there is a percentage of that population for whom Facebook is like, they will get rid of Facebook. You have to be a different level of hardcore to want to get to not use Google or maybe Amazon, but I mean Amazon's on a different vector. But I don't know. Facebook has a lot of ire. A lot of people don't like the Facebooks, and that's fair.
It's I think it's sad when they don't like Google, because I like Google and I want them to like where I am, and all that stuff. But it's like
bad news for you, Chris.
Some people don't like it so much. I know.
There are 4 or 5 monopolies in America, and you work for one of them.
It's not a monopoly.
Okay, sure.
Dude. All right. I'm not going to, I really shouldn't tell them. I don't need to be called into the courts, I will defend Google. I love working there.
Sure. It's great for the employees.
I don't need to go there. I was Googling, I was searching on Hacker News for leaving Google job. Leaving Google, you can see a lot of things. Sure. It's just you're trying to find the right word to find the Hacker News post. But in my experience, Medium is where you go to find the I'm leaving my job stories.
No, but Medium is also where you go to read the stories about I'm quitting Medium. Medium is another popular thing too. Like Hacker News has a whole like genre of I'm quitting service X, and that's
big
actually
tech
legit.
company.
That's actually legit. And this isn't about quitting your job. This is about not using the services. And Facebook, and Google are both pretty high on the list. Amazon and Medium are actually also very high on that list. You shouldn't use Medium because they're monetizing your words. You should write for your own things.
Well, I mean, you can actually, there's been a number of YouTube posts about how to monetize your words on Medium, and that's fine. But I always think I've told you my quitter joke before. It's spelled QWITTER.
Yep.
So that's Medium. It's quitter. Because when you quit, you have to post a Medium post.
That's right.
But yeah, I don't want to do that joke again.
No, it's all good, man. We're nothing if not efficiently redundant.
Yeah. We're nothing if not efficiently redundant.
So the Favicon story, and there is kind of funny because I'm always amused to read history, which to me is just like stuff we did once upon a time. It's interesting that people now are writing historical notes about the late 90s era internet stuff. I find that funny. It's the article itself is nothing that in there that you didn't know, except that the original patch to put favicons into Internet Explorer was kind of snuck through a code review, which I kind of like. Which also kind of makes sense.
This is good, right?
There's nothing else in the universe that use a .ico. What's using a .ico?
I remember when I first saw the favicon.ico, and I'm like, it can't be the same one as in Windows, and then I was like, it is. Huh, who knew?
I remember being crabby because they were just generating 404s and they were leaving access log lines. And I was getting, tens of thousands of these things a day. And I'm like, well, fart. Now I have to go and create a file to put there just so I don't have this log line, this error log constantly in my logs. But also, mostly it was a .ico file.
So here's our favicon from Fractured Veil. It's very exciting. So
it's triangular.
Is the Reddit one the alien? It is the alien.
That makes sense.
Snoop or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah. My oh no, I do have it displayed. I've got Firefox open to Reddit right now, and it does have that little icon in it. But I suppose you can't.
Who else would you like me to check?
Oh dear God, I couldn't begin to care. You want to shoot mask guns at people?
What a great story.
I wish it worked better.
It was never going to work well. But, I love the way he introduced these. Like, let's introduce the Second Amendment to healthcare. That, an American solution to an American problem. And I'm like, yeah, man, you get it. So I thought that was really funny, actually.
Yeah, his prototype worked a little bit better.
Yeah! I don't think that's what it was intended.
I won't show too much, but let's see if I can find that.
And then the handheld model.
Yeah. It's funny because he got the one shot off right in the beginning that kind of worked perfect. Because like if I'd want to do it, maybe try to do like rare earth magnets or something, so they'd like clap behind you, longer strings.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Well,
because the bolts he's using sort of as a bolo effect, turned out not to be very efficient. So.
Yeah. He meant well.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, it's a 4-body problem, tethered to a single. I mean, none of these things are efficient through the air, so it's very hard to predict where they're going to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'd have to be like this close to make it work.
And
but it's a fun project.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Mad props to the anti-QAnon mask shooter.
Anti-QAnon. All right.
And I was also pleasantly surprised that he wasn't sort of run out of town like the 2 surfer kids were in the video that was going around last week. So.
Yeah, people were kind of into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think he's onto something. If you ask someone if they'd like a mask, they want to hurt you. If you show them some stupid gun and you're like, "Hey, can I shoot a mask onto your face?" They'll be like, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
Bring it.
This is America. If there's a mask gun, we're going to shoot it at our faces.
That's right. Oh, good. I just got a story that Android TV is putting ads on the home screen, and I just got an Android TV.
Really?
Yay.
Are they ads? They like, here's another service to use. What is the nature of the ad? Is my question.
I mean, I would say it is advertising a thing that I don't want. Which there's a big thing.
Anything that does that is an ad, right?
Well, if it's not the service I paid for, then it's an ad. It's got.
Is it like a Blumper ad? That kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, they want me to subscribe to Blumper because they know that it's where all the hot new content is.
Oh, for sure.
Actually, there's a Penny Arcade that I shared on to Taco Zone, which is exactly about this, but also it had a connected topic that I thought we should at least briefly mention, which is to say that HBO has a Cthulhu series.
Yeah.
No.
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country, yep.
Yeah. And Penny Arcade had a good comment on that, which was, is it on HBO Go, HBO Max, HBO what? HBO is really screwed with their branding. Uh-oh.
HBO Nexus 1. Hold on, I'm going to figure this out, I promise.
Right. Hey, you do you. We're all tiny in the corner now.
There. It's on HBO Old Ones.
There's 2
HBO Old Ones.
Yeah, if you get the Old Ones network.
Oh, here. Figure this out.
Whatever.
It's gonna work. It's gonna work. There, boom. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but now the page is realigned, so now we're consuming the top 4 squares, and it's like the Brady Bunch, but with 5 dead Bradys.
Oh, this is the story of a bunch of dead Bradys.
That's true. But yeah, it's a cute little Penny Arcade about HBO's branding, which I wanted to use because holy crap, there's a Cthulhu TV show. I haven't seen it yet.
Neither have I. It's supposed to be pretty good, though.
Is it new, or is it like a season 2?
No, it's brand new.
It only came out like last weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of good actors in it. Jordan Peele is doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is it like it's like a road? Is it like American Gods? I'm not sure if I want to get started.
Ooh.
It looks ponderous.
American Gods was rough.
I know there's sort of a racial element to it. So.
Well, it's Jordan Peele, he does that really well,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, because they had a whole black people can't stay here thing in the ad, but I was just how American Gods, it's kind of a road movie show where they're
we're very,
but not all the way to the supernatural level of things. It was super bloody, so I'm like, I don't know. I never caught up on American Gods. Do I need another American Gods to get caught up on? And also, Lovecraft was kind of a crappy person and a terrible writer.
Oh, for sure.
He had some great ideas, but man, I never made it through any one of his books because I was like, ponderous.
Oh man, I love Lovecraft.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah, not necessarily his writing because it is all. If you read one Lovecraft story, you've read them all. I love the world and some of his ideas, basically.
Yeah.
And
maybe if I get like a D apostrophizer, that would make it easier to read.
Yeah.
Well, I'll watch it just because it's either that or watch like 6 more episodes of The Next Generation, which is now all.
Or interact with your children. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy talk. Why would you do that? You've met my children.
Yeah.
You don't want to interact with them.
Oh, they're all right.
That was my last thing on the list.
Yeah.
Mostly
we have wildfires in Northern California. It smells like barbecue outside. It's
like
kind of like a
barbecue
sweet
or bad
wood
barbecue.
Smoke. Actually, it just smells. It's wood smoke, right? So, but it's sort of heavy on the California oak sort of smell. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
A lot of Californians are really careful about eating organic. So I imagine that as their corpses are incinerated, that they would provide a more pleasing odor.
Dude, not okay. It's really, this is like people's houses getting burned down.
For sure.
And like, literally, like if you go 20 miles that way or if you go 20 miles that way, it's like a wildfire, even though I'm down by the water, so yeah.
I gotta tell you, Matt, Michigan just keeps feeling better and better.
I like Michigan quite a bit, but yeah.
I mean, I'd like it better if my internet was a little better. How about you, Rob?
Yes.
Yes, internet good.
Yes, please.
All right, folks, that's our list. Should we say goodbye to Jake and Elon?
Oh, wait, we didn't talk about Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator released yesterday, and
you said you took 6 hours to download it.
Actually, no. What happened was I started it up, and it needed to download a data bolus, from Microsoft. The original application itself was like a gig, but the bolus of data is 98 gigs, right? And I'm like, okay, that should take about 15 minutes on my connection, give or take, right? And I was watching it, and I'm like, this is going to take a lot longer than 15 minutes. Their servers are obviously slagged, right? I get it, no worries, right? So I leave, and I come back and check, and I come back and check. 6 hours later, I realized it's stalled out on a single 2.7 kilobyte file, 10 gigabytes in. I'm like, are you serious? So I deleted the entire directory. I restarted it. I came back and checked 2 hours later, and it had gotten about 20 gigabytes into it, but it was still running. And I was like, okay. And I shut off my monitor, and I heard boop, boop. And I was like, uh-oh. So I turned back on my monitor, and I look at it, and it had stalled out because it lost the monitor. I'm like, so I turn it. I restart it. I turn it back on, and I just let it go. And I left the monitor on all night. And I came in this morning, and it had said it had completed. So to its credit, it had completed, but the application itself had stalled, and it was consuming like 98% CPU across 10 cores. So I kill it again, and I start it again, and it actually started. And I was like, oh my gosh. It got to the screen where you could do the settings, and we were just about to start the broadcast, and it was stalled out there. And so I was like, So I hit the go back button, and it went back to the settings screen. I guess it had thought it had moved on. I don't know, and so I got it to the point where it was ready for me to hit a button to start playing. And I was like, I'm going to do the broadcast with my friends. So that is Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's an adventure in installation.
Right. So you're watching the progress bar. It's basically you're playing Progress Quest.
Progress Quest. Yeah, exactly. Wow. I'm just like going, are you serious? I mean, this is I hate to say it. This is obviously a client-side problem. They didn't do enough testing. And the thing is, when you have these mega games, so a total of 99 gigabytes being downloaded, like, is that going to go past most people's data caps? I mean, this is a huge game.
Well, how long before the release more installation DLC?
Well, that's the thing. I haven't even checked to see if it downloaded the deluxe content that I paid extra for. And I'm just like, oh no, is this something I have to worry about?
I always wonder about that. I have 1.2 terabytes or whatever. That's like the normal plan around here before you hit your cap. And if you've got two or three games like that, that's and that's before I like count my kids basically watching, high def video all the time on multiple devices.
Yeah, man. I mean, if I had to if I had to guess, and I haven't checked the Unify logs or anything, I probably had to download for that 100 gigabytes, probably 200 gigabytes, maybe 180 gigabytes of data because of how many times I had to restart it and all the stall outs and all the rest. So
when I was setting up this computer that I'm streaming from now, I mean, you guys remember I had to reinstall my operating system like 3 or 4 times and getting it all working. And like every time it's like, okay, re-download these 3 things or these 4 things. And several of the games that I downloaded were really big. And then the machine, I had to reformat it and start over. Like I used, you know, a terabyte just setting that up.
yeah, I mean, it's, and so what is your data cap, you said? Do you have
it's 1.2 right now, but I pay extra for unlimited.
Yeah.
But
Rob, do you have a data cap, or do they assume since it's so slow you'll never ever hit it?
No, on my DSL there's no data cap. On my hotspot, my data cap is 45 gigs.
Wow, that's pretty big. Yeah. Well, what's funny about like your Frontier being in bankruptcy, it's sort of like if you have a data cap and the company doesn't exist to monitor it, do you really have a data cap? You know,
very zen.
So.
All right,
if
folks,
you get a copyright infringement notice to a fictional character, did any infringement really happen?
That's true. All right, folks, let's say goodbye to Chris DeBona.
It's really great to see you guys. I love doing this with you.
Rob Roseboom.
I'll see you guys later.
All right, this is no joke, been episode 500 of Geeks in Space. I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda, and I will see you Friday.